Hello, friends. Welcome to the LeggLife podcast. My name is Adam.
My name is Sherry.
Sherry Beth, we have made it 4 episodes in.
4 episodes. We're rocking it.
Basically, at this point, professional podcasters.
Basically, yes.
That's exactly right. Today's podcast topic is going to be different than what we've talked about in our first 3.
Yes.
First 3 have been a little bit more serious. We dove into some a little deeper topics, kind of. Mm-hmm. This one is going to be pretty lighthearted.
This one's going to be fun.
This one is going to be fun. The idea for this podcast actually came from one of you. I think it was in an Instagram Live. One of you guys threw out this idea, and it's very timely.
Yes.
Because if you've been watching the news, been paying attention to things, you will know that we are right in the middle of like Powerball and Mega Millions lottery season.
Right.
And one of you asked, Adam and Sherry, what would you guys do if you won the lottery?
Right.
Which led to, honestly, a really fun discussion.
Yeah.
And for us, we're like, you know what? This is the podcast.
This needs to be a podcast.
So, friends, in the event that Adam and Sherry win one of those 2, which, by the way, we have not played.
Also, there is no lottery in Alaska.
That's true.
So,
Alaska's not part of Powerball, Mega Millions, any of that.
Right, so it's not actually possible for us to play and or win.
Sure.
But it's fun to dream.
With God, all things are possible.
Okay.
And so what we're talking about today is what we would do if we won. And we're not talking about we were talking like an obscene amount of money.
Yes.
Right? Like, imagine we won $750 million.
Right.
What are the kind of things we would do? What are the things that we would spend our money on? What are the ways that we would blow it? Would we blow it? Would we save? Would we splurge? And so that's what we're going to dive into today.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about this earlier, and I'm pretty excited about this.
It is. It's funny to dream, but then it was also sort of funny because when we were talking, it wasn't that we were arguing, but we were sort of disagreeing and just be like, no, I wouldn't do that. I would do this. And it was it's so funny that we were just like, okay, this is literally never going to happen in our lives. But we were getting a little bit heated. That's a stupid way to spend that.
Why would you spend the money that way, Sherry? We're we can't agree on how we'd spend this completely fictional $750 million that we will never have.
Correct.
Oh my gosh. So let's just start at the beginning, Sherry Beth.
Yep.
We win the lottery.
Yep.
We're loaded.
Whoops.
More money than we could ever imagine what to do with.
Uh-huh.
Tell me right off the bat, what are some things that you would want to spend your money on? Where would kind of your priorities be when it comes to that amount of money?
My first thought was some kind of charity something.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to keep it all for myself. I think with that kind of money, you can do a lot of good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you speak into that because you actually had a really great idea. But, for me, I would want to give it to a charity or something that we just really believe in. But then I would also, selfishly, I would like a house with a library.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't need to get rid of books because we don't have any more space on our bookshelves. I want a room with endless bookshelves.
I don't think that's selfish at all. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's first talk about the house, because you and I spent a lot of time talking about this.
Yes.
There's some people that win the lottery and they just go crazy, right?
Right.
They buy these mega mansions. And so you and I talked about what we would want. And I think it's a little bit different than what most people do.
Yeah. I wouldn't want just this huge house.
We would go camper van.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm just kidding.
For sure, no. You have fun in your camper van. I'm gonna build my own house. We did discuss we would probably build a house so that we could customize it to how we wanted it. And that the kind of things that we would want in our house are not actually stupidly extravagant.
Mm-hmm.
And we were kind of laughing we're just the most boring people to ever dream about winning the lottery because it's
true.
What are you gonna do? I don't know, pay off some debt,
we're so oh my gosh.
So this house, we neither one of us would want this huge sprawling mansion that we would just get lost in. That sounds totally not appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of talked about a 4,000 or so square foot house, which is in our opinion huge.
Yeah, totally.
And we would want a guest wing or guest suites so that we could have a lot of guests at a time. I think that it would be fun to have my whole family or multiple families of our friends at a time. And right now we have a guest room, which is great, but it would be nice to kind of have a suite of rooms that multiple people could stay in.
Well, it was funny because as we were talking about a house, like we spent so much time talking about how like comfortable and relaxing and just almost like this retreat and escape that we wanted to make like this whole guest area
for our friends.
And then we like never talked about what we would want.
We like mentioned it, like, so I want a library. I think we would probably want like a YouTube studio.
Yep, an Etsy space.
Like a dedicated Etsy space. But like really, that's it.
That's
like,
it. Like
I want a soaking tub.
Yeah, a big soaking tub. I want the YouTube space you talked about, but really like I want a space where people can come stay with us and feel like peace and calm and like rejuvenation and like they got refreshed during their time with us.
Right. So we like build our house for other people.
Isn't that hilarious? Like we win the lottery and build a house for other people. But I will say our house would have the dopest library.
For sure, yes. And like the comfiest chairs.
Yep.
And probably like a staff person to like organize it for me and give me coffee at all times.
Okay. So you want so just so you guys know, we're going to be looking to hire somebody to run the library/coffee shop.
Correct.
Apparently in Sherry's house.
Correct. Yes.
Wow. I would just want Ben to be at our house and barbecuing all the time. Like
right.
That's what I just want. I want an Expedition barbecue location in the house. That's what I want, like a satellite location of Expedition barbecue in the house.
Got it.
So that's kind of what we would spend our money on as far as the house goes.
Yeah.
Nothing gigantic.
Nothing gigantic. We did talk about buying 3 cars. We would replace both of our very old cars, and we'd want an additional car that guests could use when they came.
And we said like it'd be cool to buy like, again, this is why we're the lamest like lottery
winners
ever. That's what we said. We're like, we should get like a nice minivan that, you know, if we have
that like a whole family can fit in.
Exactly. So if we have like, you know, 2 or 3 of the guest rooms being used at once, like they have a minivan, they can all go places together. Oh my gosh, we're so lame. We are so lame.
We're the dumbest people ever to do this podcast, but it was a lot. It was so much fun to like dream.
It was fun to dream. So so that's the house, that's the cars, and honestly, even as far as like the cars for us, partly because we like live in Alaska, I just want like a mid-size SUV.
I want like decent 4-wheel drive.
That's it.
And no, that's about it.
I don't care. Like I don't care.
Heated seats maybe would be fun.
Totally. Like yeah, heated seats, like auto start, like honestly basic things that probably most people already today have.
Not with our old cars.
So that's kind of what we'd spend our money on as far as cars, as far as house goes. Now, Sherry Beth, let's talk about like what we would splurge on.
Yes. So we've had this discussion before. If we had like endless amounts of money and could just do one huge big splurge, what would it be? And I think we have settled on we would probably rent out a Disney cruise ship.
100%.
And invite like 200 of our closest friends.
This is like my dream, you guys. Just so you know, Disney Cruise, if somehow you accidentally got here and are listening, please let's make this happen. Because it is a dream of mine. Just like Sherry said, 200 of our closest people. And that might sound like a lot, but I really do think that when
it's all spread out on a ship.
When it's all spread out on a ship, but also when you like sit down and like list out friends and family and people you'd want that have that kind of experience, I think 200 would fill up fast. But it's also low enough that you would totally felt like you had the whole ship to yourself.
Right. And we talked about like we kind of have very different groups of friends and family, and I think that in some settings, it could be really awkward just to have like all these random people together. But I think in the space, the size of a Disney ship, I think like nobody would be tripping over each other. Like everybody would kind of have their own space and their own vacation.
Well, that's one of the things that I love about cruising with Disney is that, you know, on a ship, every different family is having a different kind of vacation. So, you know, you get to invite all of our friends and all of our family for this, you know, this vacation that's all about them, relaxation, and spoil them, and just, you know, how we have this common experience together. But for me, when I think of like, what's the big thing that's just like, we blew a lot of money doing one thing for the people we love, I think that's probably it.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that would be so much fun.
It would be a lot of fun.
And then earlier, Sherry mentioned like, as far as charity, like what would we give away? You know, obviously we give money to our church, obviously we give money to that kind of stuff, but then when it comes to, and again, maybe I have a little bit of a unique perspective on this because I do run a nonprofit. A lot of times when people get large sums of money, they spread it around to a lot of places, right? We try to give a decent chunk of money to a lot of organizations. And that is obviously helpful, and that does help those organizations. But to me, when we're talking about like Powerball money or Mega Millions money, like you have the opportunity to like eradicate something. You have the opportunity to genuinely impact a specific area. So I think what Sherry and I would actually do is, rather than just like spread it out to a lot of organizations, I think we would find one passion area for both of us. And honestly, knowing us, it's probably something like at-risk youth. And just say, we're going to start a foundation that exists exclusively to eradicate this area. Like, not spread it around to a bunch of different injustice areas, but put millions and millions and millions of dollars into one area. Because I think what that does is it helps get upstream. And I'll just use this isn't the point of the podcast, but I'll use it as an example. If you were able to somehow eradicate or dramatically reduce some of the statistics around at-risk youth, what that does is that affects all of the other downstream things. It affects homelessness. It affects human trafficking. It affects, substance abuse. It affects suicide. All those things that this at-risk youth group become downstream, you get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And so for me, when we're talking like that much money, I feel like you would have the opportunity, if you were really strategic, to like eradicate or almost eradicate a significant area of injustice. And I feel like that's what we would try to do, rather than spread it around to as many as possible. I feel like we would try to dump a lot into one area to really try to affect actual change.
Right. I agree with that.
Yep. That would be, and again, that's a dream. Like, oh my gosh, that would be
amazing. I would love that.
That would be honestly, that would be the greatest check we wrote from, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, from the whole thing. Sherry, other things. What about life, which is, let's talk about travel.
Yes. So, obviously, I think with that kind of money, we would quit our jobs.
What?
And so we would be able to travel more. We did talk about, I don't think that we would like buy a jet.
No.
I don't think I'd ever want to be that kind of person.
Nope.
I think we would fly first class.
100%.
We're not slum it and coach anymore. But I don't think that we would like actually take the step to like buy a jet.
No way. That to me, like jets or helicopters for personal use, unless like there's an extreme situation, but like that's just it seems like such a waste of money to me.
Yeah, it just seems very extra to me. And
Yep.
I am extra, but I think that's even a little bit too much for me.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would do that, but we would definitely, I think, up our travel, which would be really great.
And one of the things that we talked about, and I really loved when we were talking about this earlier, because Sherry and I, as we were talking about what we would do post lottery, we talked about travel. We talked about like obviously doing stuff with friends, building a dream home, but we also both talked about we just assumed that we would continue doing YouTube and Etsy.
That's true.
Like, it's really funny because we were like, yeah, we'd quit our jobs, but like YouTube and Etsy for us, we're both like, well, of course we'd keep doing that.
Like, it wasn't even a thought, like, obviously.
I love that.
I do too.
Like, that to me, like,
That's
I think
really funny to me.
that to me says a lot about those two things for us.
Yeah.
That even when you don't need those two things for income, you don't need those two things to be anything, you still want them to be a part of your life.
Yeah.
I love that. Plus, I do have to say, I've got to think that a YouTube channel of somebody who just won like $750 million is going to do pretty well.
Going to probably do pretty well, yeah.
I would subscribe. That's all I'm going to say.
Perfect.
I'm for sure watching those adventures.
Yes. I also think, and this is where we're going to get maybe a little bit boring,
Right.
Like, you always hear about those people that won these crazy amounts of money in the lottery, and then like 5 years later, they're broke and they're like living paycheck to paycheck, or they're homeless or whatever. And I wouldn't want to become one of those stats. And so I would want to invest heavily. And I mean, just make sure that we can actually live off of that for the rest of our lives. So like that kind of money to me seems like we could never ever spend that much. But clearly people do. And so I wouldn't want to become one of those people, and I would want to safeguard our future against that.
I think that's one of those mindsets that when we're talking about that kind of money, you think, and we even said it earlier in this podcast, it's like, it's more money than you could ever spend, but it's actually not.
It's not, especially, I mean, when you know, okay, so 640 million or whatever that is. And so, you know, you buy a $10 million house, and you buy...
Well, and taxes.
Plus taxes.
Let's be very clear.
Right. Yeah, a third of that's going to the government. Let's be real clear. So then what's left, I feel like you're just kind of nickel and diming your way out of it real quick. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like it would really take that long to actually just work your way through that.
Yep. So we would want to be smart with it. I will say, as you were talking about that, though, I started thinking about things that are not smart that I would still want to spend money on.
Okay.
In our house, we would 100% have our own custom banana soft serve ice cream machine.
Well, duh.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Obviously.
Like, you are so rich that you have the ability to go at any time to get banana soft serve ice cream. Keto would be out the window.
Oh, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
Keto's out the window.
Yeah.
What would you, like, there's got to be one thing. Like, for me, it's like a banana soft serve ice cream machine, that kind of thing. There's got to be something that you would say, you know what? This doesn't make any sense. This is pointless, but this will bring me joy every single time.
You know what's funny is that I would probably want, like, an actual coffee shop in my house.
Interesting.
Like, a full coffee shop.
Like,
in my house. Barista and everything.
Coffee shop kind of feel.
The coffee shop feel, yes. Where I could, like, just go hang out in the coffee shop and have my little coffee and read a book.
You know what I'd like? I'd like the coffee shop to be between our house and, like, that guest wing. So that, like, our friends and family, as they're visiting, can, like, go to the coffee shop and hang out. Yeah. And even that it has, like, a private access or, like, a separate access from, like, the main house. Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh.
That would be great.
Wouldn't that be cool?
I mean, like, I feel like that's completely unnecessary, like, in a house.
Of course it is.
But that would be so much fun. To just, like, go hang out. I'm just gonna go hang out in the coffee shop.
And I do think that some of it is, like, what are the things that you could add to your life that are going to continue to bring you joy?
Well, that's the thing. Like, have I ever walked into a coffee shop and just been like, ugh.
Another coffee shop?
Nope, for sure haven't. Like, I walk in and I breathe it in because it always smells so good. And there's just something about it that just makes me happy being in a coffee shop.
I would go get my banana soft serve and then meet you in the coffee shop.
Okay.
How's that sound?
What if we put the banana soft serve machine in the coffee shop?
You are blowing my mind right now. I have never been this attracted to you as I am right now talking about this. All right, Sherry, I want to go back and touch into travel real fast.
Okay.
The dream trip you book right away. It's like, okay, the house is built. We're hanging out. Now we don't have to go to work. We just had another Etsy launch. It went successful as yours always do. All right, YouTube's doing great. And now it's like, okay, it's dream trip time.
You know what I really want to do?
I don't know.
I want to do one of those cruises that cruises like for a whole year.
Wow.
And like hits all of these different countries and like does the whole thing.
100% did not expect you to say that.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It would be unbelievable.
Because then you kind of have the best of everything because you get to visit all of these different countries, but you're also on a cruise ship, so hello, amazing. I think that would be so much fun.
Okay, so another role we're going to need one of you guys to volunteer for. We're going to need a house sitter for our new custom built house for a year as we're
Somebody has to come watch Missy.
Someone has to come watch. Can you imagine Missy's life? Like, let's be...
We need to have a cat room for her, really. We can build her own little cat room.
Okay, I understand that idea. She does nothing but sleep.
Sure.
Like, the cat room, you know what she would want? Missy would want a little soup dispenser. like
she just like taps it with her paw and like little soups come out.
It's just like fills up her bowl.
Like her water dish is just like
little soups.
Refillable.
Missy's so bougie.
Oh my gosh.
That's exactly what she would want. Yeah. She wants a big comfy bed and she wants a little soup dispenser.
And probably like a good scratch post because we kind of have like these little scratchy things around the house for her, but I think like a good scratch post for her.
I feel like another position we'd probably have to hire for would be just like a dedicated Missy petter.
Right.
She loves love.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're gonna start growing our staff really quick.
Correct.
So if you guys are interested in being a full-time Missy petter, a barista at our coffee shop, a banana soft serve ice cream maker, or
a librarian,
or our house sitter, let us know, and maybe we'll connect.
We'll hire you with our fake monies.
Gosh, Sherry Beth, anything else that you would like want to spend money on that would be a priority? What else would you... I have one more thing that I just thought of.
Yeah, you do.
I would want to take care of if there is any debt for our parents, mortgage for our parents,
I agree with that.
All of that kind of stuff. I would...
siblings and like kind of help everybody out.
And then nieces and nephews, like college paid for.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
And then just like... But I also don't want to give people so much money that they then don't have to chase their own dreams.
I agree.
Right? Like, I want to set people up for success, but not like hinder them from being who they are.
Right.
So those are things that I would want to spend money on. But other than that, y'all, we're just trying to buy a minivan. Right? Like
but a real nice minivan.
Can you imagine? Can you even imagine like us showing up to like a car dealership? We've been in the news. We just won like $750 million, and they see us coming, and they're just like, "Oh man,
can you show us the latest model of your Sierras?"
Exactly. Yeah. There's like, "Oh, we're gonna sell all sorts of fun vehicles," and we're just like, we're here to look at your minivans, please." We're the lamest.
We are the lamest. That's okay.
We would have fun, and we would. I know that we would do good with the money.
I feel like we would help a lot of people with the money.
That's the thing. It's so funny because we were talking about this earlier. Again, the things that we spent the most time talking about were like the charity. Like, how would we give it away to ensure there was actual impact and change?
Right.
And then also like, how do we make our guest space so comfortable that our friends and family feel loved and refreshed and like they had a getaway while they were with us. Right. And then we were just like, oh yeah, what about us?
Oh yeah, also a library.
It's so funny. I think that that's probably pretty accurate to what we would do. So friends, thanks for listening. Again, a very different kind of podcast than we've talked about before. We wanted to touch into the lottery stuff since it's been in the news, since one of you suggested it. Again, if you guys have other suggestions for us for future podcast episodes, you can connect with us on Instagram.
Yep.
At LeggLife AK. You can connect with us on Facebook, on the official LeggLife Facebook page. Of course, you can subscribe to the LeggLife YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. But Sherry Beth, we end all of our podcast with my Enneagram 2 questions, as you pointed out last week.
Yep.
And I have still all week felt guilt around these.
Can we rephrase them so that they're geared a little more toward a 5?
100%. Help me.
Basic yes and no questions.
Basic yes and no questions. Mm-hmm. Have you been inspired this week? And have you felt joy this week?
Yes.
Those are lame questions. Like, what? There's nothing exciting about those.
I have something.
You do?
Yep.
Let me hear it.
And I know that I'm just stuck on the joy thing, but I'm going to do another one of those.
Of all the things to be stuck on, like what's bringing you joy is not a bad thing.
Right. So you're going to laugh at me for this, and I bet you know what I'm going to say.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say.
I know. So earlier this week or last week or something, I discovered this TV show on Netflix. It only has one season, and it breaks my little heart. But it brought me so much joy. Like, I smiled through every episode except when I was crying, because it does pull your heartstrings. It's Julie and the Phantoms. Now, I fell in love with this, like, first episode. I was like, oh, I'm hooked. Like, yup, this is happening. And it had major, like, High School Musical vibes.
Totally.
Very much feels like a DCOM, but it's on Netflix. And I just loved it so much. And I bought the soundtrack. Like, I've been listening to the soundtrack. The music in it is great. The acting is great. Like, all the characters are very likable. And it's just, like, it's such a good show.
All right, Sherry. Mm-hmm. Tying this back to the podcast topic. Yeah. What would you use some of our newfound riches to greenlight a second season of this show?
Heck yeah. So yeah, like, there's rumors of a second season, but there's nothing, like, solid. Okay. And they left it on such a big cliffhanger that I will be really upset if they don't do a second season.
Okay. Yeah, you have not stopped talking about the show since you started watching
it. I know, and I got other friends to watch it, and they loved it too.
I'm very impressed. I watched one episode with you.
And he was like, I won't watch anymore.
I was like, I think I'm going to go back downstairs and get on Instagram Live. And speaking
it's just not your thing, but I loved it.
And I'm glad, because I can tell how much you've loved it.
Yeah.
Like, I have watched how it brought you joy.
Like, I'm totally nerding out on it, and it's about high school kids, so it's, like, not even remotely applicable to my life, but it's so good.
It was 25 years ago.
Okay. Wow.
Shots fired, Sherry. All right, so mine, it's so funny because you have been focused a lot on what's bringing you joy. I've been more focused on the people side of things.
Yeah.
And mine is a person again.
Okay.
So the other night on Instagram Live, we were having a conversation. Our friend Kevin sent us a book called The Happiness Advantage. Mm-hmm. And Sherry and I spent some time at dinner kind of looking through it. And it just got me, like, fired up about the book. And it's a topic that just I very much believe in.
Mm-hmm. I think we're actually going to do a podcast.
We're actually going to do a podcast, yep, on this. But during the Instagram Live, I was thinking of how I could illustrate a certain point. And I was like, you know what? I've got to call my mom.
Yeah.
I've got to call my mom because like this is how she lives. My whole life, this is what I have seen her do. And so I called my mom, and we talked for like 25 minutes on Instagram Live. I had her on speakerphone.
Right, so he's just like holding my phone up to his phone, because my phone we called her with, his phone is on Instagram Live.
And the person that has been inspiring me is my mom.
Yeah.
Like, I have always known. Well, I take that back. Because I think there's times growing up that every kid is like, ugh, parents are the worst. But since I've become an adult, I have always known that I won the lottery when it comes to moms.
Right.
And I was sitting there listening to her kind of explain this stuff to this Instagram Live audience. First of all, my mom has no Instagram. She's never been on Instagram. But there she is. We're just having a conversation. And as I was listening to her, my thought that I had was what I was hearing her say, she has been consistent with in my entire life.
Yeah.
I can genuinely say that for 40 years of my life, I always remember my mom being like that. Mm-hmm. It's not the kind of thing that it's like, man, like in the last 3 years, my mom's really changed. Now she's like this. Like this has been her my whole life.
Right.
And that's so inspiring to me that this topic and this idea she's been so consistent and so faithful and just such a positive outlook kind of person, mm-hmm. no matter what has happened or what's going on.
Right.
And that's so inspiring to me that
she can always find the silver lining.
She can always find the silver lining, no matter what is happening in the world, no matter what is happening in relationships, no matter what is happening in her own life or her friend's life. She is always the kind of person that can look around and find things to be hopeful for or grateful for or encouraging of. And that's just so inspiring to me. And I think it's so rare. And so again, I'm listening to my mom on this Instagram Live talk, and I'm so inspired because I'm thinking that this is how she's always been.
Yeah, and what an inspiration.
Oh my gosh.
Just as a person.
100%.
Yep.
Like, I mean, she really is. And it was fun to watch you guys who were in the Instagram Live basically just be like, okay, we love Adam's mom. Like your
mom is the best.
Your mom's the best. Like, everybody in there was just like, okay, yep, she wins. Mm-hmm. Like, you're the best person ever. So that's kind of that's the person that has been inspiring me is my mom. And she's done it my whole life. Yeah. And that's just a reality.
She's great. She's been in my life for a little over 17 years, and she has always been such a positive light for me.
100%. Like that's who she is, and I really have seen her. That's how she's been my entire life.
Yeah.
And that is genuinely amazing to me. So you guys, that is what's been bringing us joy. That's who's been inspiring us, and that's what we did if we won $750 million. Banana soft serves, libraries,
coffee shops, helping
lots of people,
guest wings, a Disney cruise with all of our friends and family. That would be amazing. That would be a lot of fun. Oh my gosh. Yep. It'd be a lot of fun. It would be the best. So guys, thank you so much for listening. We're loving these podcasts. It's so fun to get to sit down and talk about something. Sometimes it's serious. Sometimes it's just like the most random. Buying minivans. Buying minivans. You guys were super cool. Here's what I want to say. If this is all I got, this is all I'm asking. If one of our LeggLife viewers wins $650 million, can we just get a minivan? Like that, or like a banana soft serve machine. I'm gonna let you guys decide. Like, what can we get? Can we get like a minivan or a banana soft serve? Can the banana soft serve also have strawberry soft serve that I can then do a strawberry banana swirl? I would be willing to sacrifice one of my banana soft serve dispensers. Only need one side. Well, that's what you think. I'm walking up to the banana soft serve, double fisting it, filling up both hands. You guys, we love you so much. We love that you guys are listening to us here on the LeggLife podcast. Thanks for all your support. You guys have responded to this better than I think Sherry or I expected you to. Yeah. So thanks so much. We appreciate the way you guys love us, the way you guys support us, and we'll see you guys. Okay, this is a weird outro. We struggle with this. Right, because we won't see you. We won't see you. And you won't see us because you're just listening. But then then it's also like, we'll hear you later. That's weird. Hear you later? Like, you'll listen to us later? Like, what do you... Yeah, I don't know. You guys, if you have an idea on how we can end our podcast, let me know. Like, what about like a peace out, homies? Does that fit with our minivans? Splurge? For sure. For sure it does. All right, you guys, we love you. We'll see you later.